Cool. Cool. Welcome everybody to episode 21 of the Thrive and Survive Research Hub. I'm here with my co-host Alex. How are you doing today?
Fantastic, my man. Very, very happy. First podcast from the new apartment. Just wanted to point that out to the listeners. So yeah, very excited. And yourself?
Good, good. I must say the background looks good, suits your tone. So yeah, looking forward to many more episodes in this new background of yours, eh?
Thank you.
Cool. So we're gonna get right into it. Today's episode is about you. And I have four main questions that I've prepared, but should topics change, nothing wrong with that. But I just want to focus on you and these four questions I've put together. So the first question is, Alex, I think you've achieved quite a bit in your youthful period. And I just wanted to find out from you, how do you define success? What is success to you based on what you've achieved?
Well, thank you for the compliment. That's very, very high praise coming from you. Um, you know, I feel like the definition of success is something that changes depending on the stage of your life that you're in. Um, I think when you're young like us, you have this desire to prove yourself in the working world. So, if you spoke to me a couple of years ago, success to me would have been, am I a top performer in whatever working environment that I find myself in? Am I adding value to the organization and to the team objectives? Today, I feel like success, it still has that for me. Obviously, at my job that I'm working at, I want to be a high performer. I want to add value. I want to contribute. But I think my definition today is a bit more rounded. You know, to me, it's, am I growing every day? Am I pushing myself outside of my comfort zone? How does my family feel about me? How do my friends feel about me? And how do I feel about myself at the end of the day? Like that's the biggest thing for me. So I guess success for me, if I had to compress it into one sentence, it's when I go to bed at night, how easily do I fall asleep?
Wow.
And
Wow.
if it's not a quick falling asleep, then I know I wasn't successful that day.
Yeah, so well said. And I mean, I think you broke that down quite nicely. And, I think you've illustrated there that, your success is transcended from being very individualistic to understanding that you're part of a bigger environment and that, you contribute to it and it contributes to you. So, yeah, very nice approach. I mean, for a young man, that's quite modest of you, eh? I think when most of us are still young, we're quite selfish about our time and how people feel. So I must give you the kudos to that.
Can I add
And that
something?
now leads
I just want to add
100%.
something. So the reason why I feel I've reached this position in my life where I look at success that way is because I didn't always look at success that way. And for those of you who don't know me, so I studied accounting. I became a chartered accountant, and I was very single-minded in my journey to get there, and to the point where I really did neglect the different areas of my life. I was very much like a lone wolf in a lot of ways. But when I reached the end of that journey, I felt like I wasn't successful, even though I'd achieved the objective. And that hurt me a lot. That was a lot of pain. So I was like, caused me to reflect and to ask myself some difficult questions like, okay, but what does success actually mean to me? And
Yeah.
how can I make sure I don't fall into this trap again? Because I want to achieve goals. I want to be successful. I want to do all of these great things, but I want to be happy at the same time. And I want my family to know that I love them, and the same with my friends whilst I'm trying
Yeah.
to achieve things.
Wow. So well said. And I mean, like they say, success is in the journey and it's not at the destination.
Yeah,
And it's in that journey where you discover parts of yourself, you discover parts of yourself that you need to develop, and then you discover parts of yourself that you just never knew existed. So
exactly.
yeah, I like how you've defined that, and I think I'm gonna take some lessons on that. I
Thanks,
think
man.
um yeah, success can also be defined on the 10,000 hours. I live by that quite a bit and believe that generally you tend to see the shift in results once you hit that 10,000 hour mark. But I think the secret is how do you enjoy the journey? How do you find happiness leading up to that 10,000 hour mark? So
Yeah,
that when the shift does happen, you don't feel empty. You don't feel like you missed out or you neglected certain elements of your life. So yeah,
100%. Yeah, 100%. The problem is like the amount of time you spend on the journey getting to the goal versus the amount of time that you spend there at the goal. It's night and day, 99% and
100%.
1%. So, like, if you say to yourself, I'll be happy when I get there, I'll be happy when I do X, it's like, no, you won't. You might feel a little bit of a sugar rush. It's like eating a slice of cake, you know, it tastes good in the moment,
Mm,
but the rest of the time, you got to live with the consequences of that cake, you know? So,
100%. 100%. So well said. And now that leads me on to my next question, right? Seeing
yeah,
that I think you seem like a very highly driven individual. And the question I have for you now is, how do you stay that way? How do you motivate yourself?
again, thank you for the compliment. That's a nice thing to say. uh, I would look,
Gotta
you
give
know what?
credit where it's due.
Motivation is great and being driven is great. Discipline is everything, though. That's the one thing I would say. So you can't always choose when you feel motivated, but you can always choose to be disciplined. That's the beauty of that relationship. But I will say this: the people that you surround yourself with have a big impact on your motivation levels. The environments that you put yourself in have a big impact on your motivation levels. I'm blessed that my friends that I have are all very driven people, very motivated people. So every time I speak to one of them, it sort of fills up my battery a little bit.
Yeah,
And also this sounds so stupid, but just going to the gym for me is a big one. Because every time I step into the gym, I see people getting after it and grinding and being really driven. And that inspires me as well. So, people, the environment that you're in, also the content that you consume. So, I love listening to motivational and inspirational people. You and I are always sharing stuff on Instagram with each other. That stuff always gets me going. We literally have a playlist on Instagram for this. So I'm very deliberate about the content that I consume. Generally, most
yeah,
stuff is positive, you know. So,
yeah,
but there are times, I will say this to you, like there are times, the question is, how do you feel when no one is looking? How do you feel when you're by yourself? There are times when I wake up and I'm like, oh, geez, whew, tired. This
yeah.
is a long day.
There is not easy.
Like you wake up in the morning and you're feeling a bit fragile. It's dark outside, it's cold, but still going to it anyways. So
Yeah, 100%. And what I pick up from you there is that motivation is not always motivation. Sometimes your discipline maintains the motivation,
yeah,
you know? And I think that's the sweet spot to hit, right? Because not every day will you feel great, but if you have the discipline to do the disciplines that charge your motivation, then you're in a good space. And I mean, what I picked up from you there was, the fact that going to gym recharges you, being around the right people recharges you. All those are disciplines because all those are conscious decisions that you make. And because of the decision that you made to engage or be around certain environments, you automatically charge your own battery. And I think we spoke about this, I think in December,
yeah,
when we spoke about being very careful about the activities that you do because some are draining activities and some are recharging activities. So what I understand about the composition of your life is that you like to focus on environments that charge you, activities that charge you, and be with people that charge you.
yeah.
So I think that's quite a good formula too.
I would add
Yeah.
to this. I think we can't navigate this world on our own. We're not made for that. We need a tribe. You need a tribe. And your tribe is a very big part of your daily experience of life, you know? So,
Yeah.
but if you want to attract people of a certain nature, you have to be that person as well, because
Yeah.
no one wants to hang out with someone who's not contributing, you know? So
Yeah.
that's the nature of the game. You pick who you want to be, you pursue that, and then you look for like-minded people who can reinforce that behavior. You know, it's like
Yeah.
my favorite thing is like what is normal to one person is insane to somebody else. You know,
Yeah.
the idea of training at 5:30 in the morning is completely normal to people that are already there. But to people who don't even gym, it sounds crazy. And so
Yeah.
that's why I say, like, be careful about who you hang out with, because people normalize behavior. You know,
Yeah.
normalize grinding on your dreams and being positive, being motivational, making good choices. You should look for people that normalize that, not the alternative, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, so well said. So well said. And I mean, I'll use myself when I perceive you sometimes going to the gym at 5:30, right? I'm like, geez, this guy is crazy. But anyways, he's normalizing what fuels him, right? And like I
Yeah.
can attest to myself. I remember December, I was playing golf like every second day for a month. And you were probably
Yeah.
thinking like, this guy's crazy. I could read a book, I could go to gym, I could spend
Yeah.
time with family, I could do multiple things in that same space. But like you said, you have that right tribe, right? That understands that these activities you're doing are building and adding to your overall dream.
Exactly.
Cool. Now that leads me on to my next one. I think that's gonna just go in quite nicely. So with everything that we've discussed, Alex, I just want to know how you keep track of your goals. How do you measure your success in terms of the yardstick? I think for you, success is every day. Like you said, it's
Sure.
about you can sleep at night, then you're successful. But at the end of the day, that's not the end of it, right? You're still working towards something. How do you measure where you are in terms of that yardstick?
That's a great question. Measurement in goals is very important. I know that sounds very obvious to people, but it's maybe not. If you're not measuring your progress, you don't know if you're on the right track. And
Mm.
like you said the one time, action doesn't necessarily equal progress. You can be doing
Yeah,
something, but if it's not the right thing, you're wasting your time. So for
yeah,
me, it depends on the type of goal. I generally try and track my progress every day, as small as it might be. So like for me, if it's a financial goal, every morning I check my money. Every morning I check that bank account and I see, okay, how am I progressing?
what are the bank charges yesterday?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And
Yeah,
I mean, I'm an accountant, so I love spreadsheets. Every month I take my bank statement, I make a spreadsheet. I look at it, I'm like, okay, where's my money going? Where's it coming from, etc., etc. I'm currently trying to lean out a little bit, so every morning I'm measuring myself, keeping track of it. It's little, I spoke to a coach earlier today. Greatness is not necessarily the big things, it's the small things that you do consistently every day, you know. So for me, if I could maybe be very clear, every morning I measure, every morning I write down my goals and I write down how I'm progressing on these goals. And generally, I give myself, like, I'll define a project and then I'll break the project down into micro goals. I'll reverse engineer it. And then every every month I go and I look at it like that. And I found that's the way that I get to stay on course with my progress, you know.
mm. And I like how you've spoken about that, right? Because I think it's very easy to define success as happiness, but if you purely define it only on happiness, then you don't progress, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, you can do a lot of things that make you happy, that make you sleep easier at night, but if you don't measure it, that
Yeah,
happiness is actually keeping you behind. That happiness is stopping you from going into a new discomfort zone that will stretch you. That happiness is stopping you from trying something new or giving yourself a new challenge. So I like that reverse engineering that you speak about there. Yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I just want to say happiness and comfort are not the same thing. And people often get those confused.
Yeah,
Happiness
so well
is not,
said.
yeah, it's not comfort. Happiness is this feeling of like, oh my word, I did it. Holy shit. That thing that I said I
Yeah,
was scared to do, I actually did it. And then
yeah,
that is like,
yeah,
you know, that's
yeah.
happiness to me.
And I think also and I also feel like happiness is also a byproduct of joy, right? Like when you feel very joyful, then you also feel very happy. And that's why like, you find
Yep.
some people who go through tough times, but they're joyful in that tough time, maybe because it's aligned with their purpose or whatever. And then that results in happiness. Happiness is like up and down, but joyful is like a constant like expression of gratitude that feeds happiness, if you get what I'm saying.
Discipline and motivation work the same way as joy and happiness.
So well said.
Happiness and motivation are fleeting, but discipline and joy are choices that you can make every day.
Yeah.
So,
Oof. No comment further. I think you've closed that question very nicely.
thank you.
Cool. And then last but not least, obviously we spoke about the fact that, happiness isn't the journey and the destination is different from the journey itself. So what do you do when you reach the destination? What do you do when you reach your goal? You know, did you set a new one? What do you do? Because now obviously you've been chasing this thing, now you've achieved it. Do you celebrate and rest? Like, how do you overcome that? Because yeah, life is about continuation, right?
So, for me, um, before I reach a goal, I always set a new one. So as I'm seeing the end of that journey, I always set a new one because I believe you cannot stay stagnant. You're either growing or you're dying. That's not my quote, it's Tony Robbins' quote, but it's true. You're either growing or you're dying. So if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Um, I think you should celebrate, but I think you should celebrate every day. You should celebrate progress towards a goal. And then when you get there, cool, you can have a big moment if you want, whatever. But most of the time, if you're doing things right, you don't have to celebrate then because you have been celebrating this whole time. And when I say celebrate, I
Mm,
don't mean popping champagne bottles and making a big deal about it, but just that sense of self-respect and pride in the effort
yeah,
where for me, if I wake up and I go to the gym at 5 in the morning or whatever, and I come back, I look at myself in the mirror and I have a smile on my face because I celebrated. I'm
yeah,
like, nice. Today I showed up and I did the thing. It's the same with the podcast. Every
100%.
time you and I do a podcast, we finish it, we celebrate it. It's not a big
Yeah,
thing, but it's real,
yeah,
So I can see for you and me, one day when we make it a big thing and like we reach these big goals and milestones, it's probably going to be underwhelming because we've been having such a good time the whole time, you know?
yeah. Well
So
said.
that's what I
And I
would
think, and,
say.
and you said that well, right, about underwhelming. And I think that's why people who are highly successful generally always set new goals, right? Because you've kind of already experienced the destination in the journey through your
Exactly.
imagination, through your planning. And like, I think above all, the 10,000 hours, right? You know, when the 10,000 hours are done, and that transition starts to take place, and you're like, okay, cool, what next? And I think that's why winners are always so calm and composed, and that's why they do it over and over again. Yes, sometimes the win comes a bit earlier, they may be shocked or overexcited or whatever, but it's a very short period, and then it's back to normal. So I like how
Yeah,
you mentioned the feeling of being underwhelmed, purely because I think the imagination is ignited and the effort in terms of working towards it is actually what gives you that feeling of celebration in the journey.
exactly. It's the journey. The journey is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the whole point of the exercise. It's what makes you the person that you are when you accomplish the goal, So
Yeah.
the outcome it's important, but it's not the big thing. Oh, sorry, buddy. It's frozen there. All right, everybody, we have technical difficulties right at the end of the podcast. We might edit this out, we might not edit this out. There we go, you're back. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I
Did
can
you
hear
hear
you now
me?
100%. I literally,
Okay.
as your screen froze, I just got an article from my work group.
Oh
Massive
yeah.
internet problems in South Africa.
Oh, that's awesome. It's funny. While I was frozen, I was just speaking to the audience and I was like, yeah, we might edit this out. We might not edit it out. We'll see, whatever.
We're not gonna edit
Um,
it out. I'm gonna leave it as
yeah,
is, right?
we'll keep it as is. But yeah, I think we answered that last question pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, awesome. I mean, I've taken some inspiration from the way you've answered these questions, and I think, it's really good to I think, redefine what your success is. Because like what you said in the beginning of the interview, your understanding or definition of success changes depending on the stages of life that you're in.
Mm.
And it was quite nice to see how yours has evolved from like the singular perspective to this inclusive perspective. And in both stages, you were happy, right? But the reality is that you grew through both of them and you continue to grow.
Well
So
said.
yeah, thank you for that wisdom. Thank you for that wisdom. I don't know if you have any closing comments or remarks just to enlighten us one more time.
I think this was a great podcast. I really enjoyed the way you asked these questions and the way you managed it, and even the follow-ups as well. It was really great. I would just say to people, success is what you make of it. It's your definition. No one can tell
Yeah.
you what success is or isn't. The question is, how do you feel about your life? So you could be doing everything right according to someone else's definition of success and hate your life and be miserable. We actually see this a lot in the world today. There's people who think about Robin Williams. He killed every single thing that you could have killed in the entertainment industry, and he committed suicide
Mm,
because he was
mm,
depressed. That's not
mm,
success. That's the ultimate failure. And I don't say that to disrespect him. I'm just saying that's the game, you know? So life is very short. No one cares. Live your life, you know, to your own definition of success. That is
mm.
what Thrive and Survive is about. And yeah, I hope you guys got some value out of this episode. I really enjoyed it. And stay tuned for more, guys.
Yeah, and I like how you concluded that, right? That's what Thrive and Survive is about. Self-help wisdom to help you elevate your life.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
I guess we can wrap it up there. Alex, thank you so much for answering those questions and for the wisdom. Very much appreciated. And yeah, look forward to interviewing you again. Eh?
Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Until next
Yeah.
time. And that's us.